tonight, more front court for corruption charges. Group calls for removal of discriminatory terms. And 4G launch expected to unleash economic opportunities. Very good evening. 13 former employees of the Public Works Department facing corruption charges appeared in the High Court this morning. They were released on $2,000 bail each. They are charged with causing a loss and obtaining financial advantage and are being investigated by the FICAC for their involvement in a $600,000 scam. FICAC started its investigations back in 2011. The Social Democratic Liberal Party has announced that it will contest the 2014 general elections on its own and won't be part of the United Front for a Democratic Fiji. General Secretary Pio Tambaiwalu has confirmed they have already called for expressions of interest. Drebukelang reports.
9 months away from next year's general election, and one of the political parties which will be contesting has invited application from interested politicians. With majority of its members made up of politicians in the former government, SODELPA wants a mix of the old and the new heading to the poll next year.
Of course. I think that's the real aim of the party. It's a new party, in fact. When we look at it, it's in fact a new party. And we're really trying to have a cross-section, not only age groups, as you said, from experienced politicians, but also younger people and women, and of course quite a representation from across all the communities. So I think that's critical.
So far, there's been interest from some well-known members of society wanting to link up with SODELPA.
Oh, there's been a lot of interest coming through the emails, through our phone calls, and some have personally contacted me. So yes, quite. There were a few that had shown the interest even before the advertisement. Yeah, very encouraging. So far we have had quite numerous interests. We hope to get more.
Those in charge of running the party believe there's still a force to reckon with come next year's general election.
I think when we go out, there's a lot of residual support for the party, especially in the rural areas, and we are now covering the urban centers. I think what the people really want is to have a free say in who is to govern them. I think that's an important principle.
Tambaiwalu also revealing why they're choosing to go at it alone.
We're fighting it under SODELPA as a political party. Only registered political parties can fight elections under the regulations. But UFDF forms an important part of having a general view from all parties on the way forward, especially on issues that we agree on and policies that all parties agree on. I think that's critical in moving forward. And also critical when we finally get to Parliament. Already there is a working relationship amongst other parties.
The 2014 general election will take place in September. Drebukelang, Fiji One News.
The Pacific Disability Forum has called for the removal of terminology used to make reference to people living with disabilities. Forum Chief Executive Officer Setareki Madanawai said this group of people should be treated equally and not be characterized by certain terminologies. Let's start with the story.
Marginalized, poorest of the poor and vulnerable are just some of the terminologies often used to refer to people living with disabilities. However, these terminologies are now not accepted by the Pacific Disability Forum. Forum CEO Setareki Madanawai says these terms are rather discriminatory.
At the end of the day, when it's left as it is, it means nothing. And after, I said, it becomes a cop-out, a scapegoat. And often we, persons with disabilities, are included in those terminologies. And the real meaning, the seriousness of efforts to bring us out of the margin of society, of the back burner, are often watered down when we talk marginalization.
Madanawai says it's about everyday lives and a sense of dignity for people living with disabilities.
I challenge us when we go back to our offices, to our desks, in our various work, and even our families. How are we promoting, how are we, in whatever way we are doing, embracing the human rights for all?
The forum is also calling for a more concerted effort to break barriers for people living with disabilities and opening up opportunities for them.
A society that fits for all is a society that includes also persons with disabilities. No longer on the outside looking in, no longer in the margins of society, no longer left in the back burner or the afterthought of this we do, but we're in the center, in the front of everything that we do.
Meanwhile, individuals who contributed towards assisting in the development of people living with disabilities were also recognized and commended for their efforts. Halikesh Dutt, Fiji One News.
Making our environment disability friendly continues to be a major priority for organizations. And that's also something the University of the South Pacific is trying to do as it boosts its efforts to make the regional university more inclusive. USP now allows students to disclose their special needs and has taken on board a categorizing system so they can provide the relevant support. The institution has also classified albinism as a disability, as most people do not know that there are other impairments that are associated with albinism.
Albinos often face those challenges. They have either very low vision or short-sighted. So when we tag and when we categorize students with disabilities, it's really things like hearing impairment, vision impairment, and not albinos per se, but because albinos do face all sorts of other challenges. Albinos face problems that lead to skin cancer and things like that, but they also have low vision. So we do have students who have come forward to disclose who are albinos and have low vision. So they're classified as students with disabilities and they provided the support.
The university's Disability Center currently has a buddy system which helps special needs students in classes and in their daily uni lives.
Another notable development was the initiation of the buddy system. So you had young USP students who volunteered to become a buddy to a student with a disability for a semester.
A much anticipated fourth generation, better known as 4G, was launched by Vodafone last night. At the end of the first phase of the 4G rollout, at least 65% of the population will have access to more than double the internet speed they currently enjoy. In unveiling the new service, Prime Minister Commodore Borenge Bainimarama also hinted at the huge economic possibilities that now lie ahead.
Now on par with some of our more developed neighbors, last night's 4G launch comes barely 2 months after government's landmark $5 million spectrum auction.
So for Vodafone to deliver a fully functioning 4G network in such a short space of time is a genuinely impressive achievement. The speed of the rollout reflects the connection speed of the technology itself, which now places Fiji in the front rank of the world's telecommunications providers.
4G simply means much faster internet access and downloads. In some areas, more than double the current speed of the existing 3G technology.
You will see tests here which will go up to almost 90 megabits per second. Of course, that's on the high end. It's unloaded network, but average speed of definitely 15, 20 megs, even 30 megs, depends where you are.
The zero rating of smartphones, according to the PM, should help facilitate even faster access to this technology.
In other words, smartphones must become cheaper. And all importers and retailers, I would like you to take note of this, please.
4G also tying in with government's vision of a smarter country, coupled by the huge investment in education and economic reforms.
Video streaming and conferencing means that a group of business people in Suva can talk to their clients in Raki in real time, as if they were in the same room. The faster speeds also mean a revolution in the way we deliver some government services. It will now be possible, if you have the latest technology, to have a doctor in Suva diagnose a patient in Sabu over the internet as if they were in the same room.
At the end of the first phase of Vodafone's 4G rollout, a sizable 65% of the population should have access to 4G, also taking our internet penetration well above the current 26%.
It's also in the moment limited in coverage. We actually are only expanding in Suva and Lami and Greater Suva corridor. We're also going to expand as part of phase 1, going into Nandi, Dendra and Nandi Airport. And by the end of first phase, we'll have 65% of the population coverage with our 4G coverage.
The economic possibility is now limitless with 4G technology literally in our hands. Jeffrey Smith, Fiji One News.
Ahead in the news, remembering those who have died on our roads. An holistic approach needed for conservation efforts. Hello again. The Land Transport Authority marked International Road Victims' Remembrance Day yesterday. It's a day to reflect on the many lives that have been lost on our roads. Abisalome Rambo with the story.
As solemn as it can be, stakeholders, families and friends gathered to remember those who died needlessly on our roads. Memories of their loved ones linger as relatives placed wreaths to commemorate the occasion. And then, a moment of silence.
The Remembrance Day is observed worldwide. About 180 countries in the world. We have put together this Remembrance Day and using the theme of saving lives on our roads. It's basically, about reflecting on the work of saving lives on our roads in relation to those that died on our roads.
At the remembrance service, emotions flowed as victims shared testimonies. Though some live only to remember those who are no longer with them, others are living with the scars that have taken time to heal.
You've seen from some of the victims that are here today, the scar is there, it's still there. Somebody lost the memory, somebody will never be the same, will face some permanent disability on their bodies as the scar of the accidents that happened to them.
Yesterday was International Roads Victim Remembrance Day. For some who are living on, citations from a poem might just be the perfect way to remember the victims' lives.
See, no one else can talk with lots of emotions and lots of conviction than those that really experience this. So the whole idea of getting this locked into this kind of event is to get their support.
Spiritual encouragement has been a vital component for victims' families. But at the foot of the flagpole where fresh wreaths now lay, a sunny Remembrance Day will etch the victims' memories that although they are gone, they are never forgotten. Abisalome Rambo, Fiji One News.
The Fiji National University has successfully won an international bid to implement a new project. It's called Education for Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation, or ECAM. Abisalome Rambo again with the details.
Signing away after successfully bidding for the $4 million funding for ECAM. It's a mobility program for academic cooperation based on a dual-prong approach, which will benefit tertiary students enrolled at the Fiji National University.
It involves 3 universities, Fiji National University, the University of Guyana in the Caribbean, and the University of Papua New Guinea. There's a 4th partner, an associate partner, called the Yikwama Institute, which is in Guyana also, and they're all involved in climate change. It's clearly a very important agenda here in the Pacific and in the other island countries of the world.
The ECAM program involves 47 exchange programs among students from the Pacific and other stakeholder universities around the region and the Caribbean. The primary objective will be the postgraduate education mobility, coupled with academic and administrative staff mobility. This will increase competitiveness and attractiveness between the universities themselves.
Particularly focusing on interdisciplinary research in climate change. So it's a very important program, I think, for assisting with understanding the future of climate, but more importantly, what we need to do to manage and adapt the effect of humans on climate change, on industry, on climate change, and so on.
FNU officials were all smiles today and were grateful for the funding. It's all about empowerment, and students will be supported through scholarships, which include fees, air travel, insurance, and the cost of living expenses.
I think we can say that very clearly. The European Union is providing the means to empower students to really change the way that students can experience their university career. And I'm very, very pleased that we have an excellent combination here through the ECAM program, a combination of two of the areas where the European Union places a great deal of attention. First of all, climate change. We are working very closely with the Pacific Island countries to try to combat the adverse effects of climate change.
ECAM intends to facilitate the effective reduction of the impact of climate change. Apisalome Rambo, Fiji One News.
Hundreds flocked to the chiefly village of Lubu today to pay their final respects to the late Turangana Kailevu Ratu Sekiusa Makutu. Members of chiefly households from the three confederacies, along with the Prime Minister Commodore Borenge Bainimarama and President Ratu Epelina Latika, were also present. Madiam Bolaitamana filed this report.
Soon after the government delegation led by the Prime Minister presented its rengu-rengu to the chiefly household of Nangela Damu this morning, the Banua o Nakurubarua was ready to proceed with the last rites accorded to its paramount chief. Keeping order were the traditional warriors of the Turangana Kailevu who hail from the villages of Woliboli, Samo and Nandromai. The village greens painted a picture of a Vanua in mourning as young and old sat head bowed as the body of the late Turangana Kailevu made its final journey to the Sayoni Methodist Church. In his eulogy, delivered on behalf of the Kumbuna Confederacy, where the late Ratu Sekiusa has maternal links, Ratu Tuaki Tautokanauto spoke of a man who gave freely and one who seldomly turned down an offer to help or assist anyone in need. He called on the Vanua Nakurubarua to be wise in selecting a leader for the future that will continue with the good works of the late Turangana Kailevu. Ratu Sekiusa was laid to rest at the chiefly burial grounds in Tana. He is survived by his wife Antitorika and 5 children. Madium Balaitamana, Fiji One News.
The Fiji National University is now part of the Knowledge, Integration and Transparency in Education, or KITE scheme. Currently 15 countries from the Asian, Caribbean and Pacific regions are part of this scheme, and that now includes Fiji. The Memorandum of Understanding was signed today by the FNU and the European Union. This now allows FNU to network and engage with other key institutions and development partners.
We have found in the European Union that by providing the means for students to go and spend some of their university career in other countries, we can really improve their performance, change the way in which they look at the world, and really make them citizens, global citizens, who can really provide, I think, much more benefit in terms of economic development to their home countries.
Plans are in the pipeline to develop a scheme that will now ensure candidates put those skills to practice here once they've completed their studies. This is to ensure they don't immediately head off to greener pastures. With FNU partnering in the scheme, it will help address Fiji's human resource needs, that being one of the key objectives for the existence of the university.
To be able to combine climate change with student mobility, with the emphasis that we put on youth, is extremely satisfying. I think to be able to provide the means to, let's say, enhance research on climate change is a very, very important step forward.
They're often called the unsung heroes, dedicating their time to causes they believe in. Today, a group of volunteers were recognized for their efforts in commemoration of World Volunteers Day. Ravai Vafa'o reports.
It was a day to recognize and celebrate the efforts of volunteers, many of whom given their time and services to various communities around the country.
Over the years, volunteers have been working hard in Fiji, contributing to the community development, uplifting the livelihoods of people in Fiji, and also generally contributing to the nation's economy. You know, and these are people who willingly, out of their social responsibility, contribute and free willingly without getting paid. You know, but when you look at the outcome of this work, when measured in monetary terms, they contribute in millions.
The event, organized by Projects Fiji Abroad, saw participants take part in a walk along Nasese. More than 150 people turned up for the event to commemorate the occasion.
These are the volunteers who do wonders. I mean, we are at Vodafone, we have the channel, but it's the volunteers who do all the groundwork. They are the ones making all the difference, the world of difference that we call on the ground.
Volunteering has quite an impact locally and on the global scale, as well as helping strengthen foreign relationships. For many volunteers, the act of helping others gives them a pure sense of satisfaction.
I decided on Fiji because it's pretty close to home, and I'm doing teaching here, working with young children at schools and having a great time. I'm very surprised how good everyone's English is and how well they can communicate.
An awards night to reward volunteers for their contribution gets underway this hour here in the capital city. Ravoeva for O, Fiji One News.
The Health Ministry has confirmed that the hepatitis A and leptospirosis outbreak in Balivuto in Ba has been successfully contained. Health Minister Dr. Neil Sharma says all safety measures and precautions have been put in place. Dr. Sharma also confirms that clean water is also being carted to the residents in the area.
Humans were using it, drinking from it, defecating in it. So, public water reservoirs need to be adequately screened so that the water is safe. You don't have contamination from human waste and you don't have contamination from animal waste.
For the next 5 years, the WWF hopes to work closely with Pacific Island governments on a project close to their hearts, the conservation of sharks. According to WWF, there is a need to understand these creatures' role, not only in fisheries, but also in the context of the heritage and culture of the people of the Pacific.
To try and make sure that these shark populations are managed in a sustainable way and benefit not just islands at the moment, but future generations to come.
And he adds that the entrenchment of relevant laws is also an immediate need that warrants review and amendments.
Fiji has already passed its inshore fisheries, or is reviewing its inshore fisheries policy. So all these initiatives will obviously need to be incorporated into regional, local and national policies. But it's not just about governments passing laws and trying to enforce them. It's also about understanding these creatures and the role that they play as a key species in marine ecosystems.
The 5th of December every year is marked as World Competition Day. This year's theme is the adverse impact of cartels on the poor. The Fiji Commerce Commission says that by marking the day, we're encouraging competition in the market. It adds that this year there's emphasis on protecting consumers from cartelling.
Basically, when you talk about cartels, you are looking at the business conduct, whereby the businesses get together to agree on to a common prices for selling goods and services. The other one, of course, was the recent LPG market study, whereby there were suggestive indicators of a price follower leader relationship, right? And based on that, as a preventive measure to avoid such things being creeping into something such as cartelization, we had made the recommendation which was accepted for a PCO for the LPG market to be issued.
The Commission says they are taking a proactive rather than a reactive approach to address the issue. Meanwhile, the Consumer Council of Fiji echoed the negative impacts of cartelling. Consumer Council of Fiji CEO Pramila Kumar says that having competition in the market is very important for consumers.
We expect that rivalry, because rivalry we have seen in Fiji with the telecommunication sector, with all these mobile companies entering into the market. There has been rivalry amongst them, and that rivalry has driven the prices lower. So in my view, the theme is apt, it's relevant, and consumers will not benefit if price fixing is happening in the marketplace.
Our Pacific News segment is up next. Stay with us. Leadership and partnership is needed at all levels here in the Pacific if the region hopes to succeed in conserving nature and biodiversity. This is one of the outcomes of the 9th Pacific Nature Conservation and Protected Areas Conference.
There is certainly no doubt that our communities are at the forefront of battling the impacts of changing climatic conditions. Calls have been made by these experts here to strengthen the partnership between communities and policymakers.
An emphasis has come through from the conference about the need to link biodiversity with other broader agendas such as economic development, such as through tourism, and importantly with climate change. So the whole issue of climate and environmental management can't be separated.
The regional leaders and experts are formulating an action strategy that will outline the conservation efforts of the Pacific countries for future.
What that will do is provide a framework for countries when they look at their own actions, for non-government organisations to do the same, so that there is a clear framework coming forward from this.
Republic of Marshall Islands and Solomon Islands have already announced plans to establish a shark sanctuary. Cook Islands have also announced plans to establish a marine park during this meet, while Palau has also declared it will put together a green fund.
We've seen a lot of strengthening of initiatives such as the Micronesian Challenge, and we've seen commitments by countries like the Cook Islands to establish 50% of their exclusive economic zone as a marine protected area. So major achievements. The challenge remains in this region is often very limited capacity. So what we need to do is to work in partnership, government, non-government, but also for the international community.
However, as regional countries set conservation into motion, there are several challenges.
Some countries have still challenges in terms of governance and finance issues. So these are some of the major issues. But of course, in this region, with three of the lowest countries on Earth, the issues of a rising sea pose major challenges, particularly for coastal communities.
The conference culminates tomorrow, but certainly not before these experts and leaders come up with a clear plan that ensures the conservation of our biodiversity. Halitesh Tak, Fiji One News.
Now remember, you can also view the Fiji One News Bulletin on our website. That's www.fijione.tv. And you can also watch previous news bulletins as well as our current affairs, business and sports shows. The business communities in the country now have the option of storing all their vital data in a safe place in the event of a natural disaster. Digicel Fiji today introduced a new service with exactly that in mind. The new technology provides a fast and reliable option for businesses to access when the system shuts down as a result of a major natural disaster.
The message really for the business community in Fiji is that the damage caused by prolonged interruption to businesses that affects their operational continuity can be limited and in some cases completely avoided through simple preparation strategies. Digicel Business has invested in cloud-based technology to provide a secure data storage and recovery service to the Fijian business community that is commonly available in overseas developed markets.
They have also provided backup systems from abroad to assist with their work. There is also the option of relocating businesses to their sites to continue with their work.
Importantly, this service requires no capital investment by the business and is bound by strict service level guarantees that give 100% assurance of data recovery in the event of a disaster. So to put this in practical terms, for many small businesses, the cost to get this assurance from Digicel Business is less than a cost of a cup of coffee a day.
This morning marked a new era to shopping as far as supermarkets are concerned, with the New World Supermarket opening another outlet at the Damoda complex here in Suva. The New World Supermarket is accredited to the International Grocers Association standards, giving locals the opportunity to shop in a supermarket that is up to par with overseas standards.
With the IGA international standard, this is the first IGA standard supermarket in the country.
The New World Limited, newest addition to its growing chain of supermarkets, is the first of supermarkets to offer customers a wider variety of fresh goods and at the same time quality service.
The average supermarket in Fiji is somewhere between about 5,000 to 6,000
we call it schematics, which is items. We're somewhere around about the 9,000 mark now. So it's quite a paradigm shift away from where Fiji normally sits.
The overseas-orientated supermarket is aimed at giving locals a taste of what's offered abroad. New World was chosen to be the flagship supermarket at Damota City due to extensive research.
Extensive research for about 2 years, and that involved a lot of Facebook, that involved physically walking around, meeting people, getting their feedbacks on what supermarket, when you go to a supermarket, what do you look for, what something's missing. We looked at the extensive expatriate community, what they were looking for, and also local community, what we were looking for, and close to about 70–80% the word New World ever came out.
Andrew's next with sports and another termination at Rugby House.
Yes, indeed, Vili, and it's actually a senior post with the Immigration Department stepping in, and that's coming up next. Also ahead, flying Fijians bulk up police for Sukuna Bowl. And Nandranga clubs also out of football's NCC.